Budge up there! Move along! Hagrid! Ron and Hermione squished together to give Hagrid enough space to join them. Been watching from the hut, said Hagrid, patting a large pair of binoculars around his neck. But it isn't the same as being in the crowd. No signs of the snitch yet? Nope, said Ron. Harry hasn't had much to do yet. Kept out of trouble, though. That's something, said Hagrid, rising in his binoculars, peering skyward at the speak that was Harry. Way up above, Harry was gliding over the game, squinting about for some sign of this snitch. This was part of his onwards game plan. Keep up off the way until you catch the sight of the snitch, Wood had said. We don't want you to you attacked it before you have to be. When Angelina had scored, Harry had done a couple of loop-de-loops to let off his feelings. Now he was back to starting around for the snitch. Once he caught sight of a flash of gold, but it was just a reflection from the Weasley's wristwatches, and once a bludger decided to come pelting his way, more like a cannonball than anything. But Harry dodged to Fred Weasley. Fred Weasley came chasing after it. All right then, Harry, he had time to yell as he beat the bludger furiously toward Marcus Flint. Slithering in position, Lee Jordan was saying. Chester Percy ducked two bludgers, two Weasleys, and Chester Bell, and spit toward the... Wait a moment! Was that the snitch? A murmur ran through the crowd as Adrian Percy dropped the quaffle, too busy looking over his shoulder at the flash of gold that had passed his left ear. Harry saw it. A great rush of excitement. He dived downward after the streak of gold. Slytherin's Curtius Higgs had seen it too. Neck and neck, they hurtled toward the snitch. Oh, the chasers seemed to have forgotten what they were supposed to be doing as they hung in mid-air to watch. Harry was faster than Higgs. He could see the little round ball, wings fluttering, darting up ahead. He put in an extra spurt of speed. Whoom! A roar of rage echoed from the Gryffindors below. Marcus had blocked Harry on purpose, and Harry's broom spun, of course. Harry holding on for dear life. Foul! Screamed the Gryffindors. Madame Hooch spoke angrily to Flint, and then ordered a free shot up the goalpost for Gryffindor. But in all confusion, of course, the golden snitch had disappeared from sight again. Down in the stands, Dean Thomas was yelling, Send him off! Red card! What are you all talking about, Dean? Said Ron. Red card, said Dean furiously. In soccer, you get shown the red card, and you're out of the game. But this is not soccer, Dean reminded him. Hagrid, however, was on Dean's side. They ought to change the rules. Flynn couldn't knock Harry out of the air. Lee Jordan was finding it difficult now to take sides. So after that obvious and discarding bit of cheating, Jordan, growled Professor McGonagall, I mean, after the open and revolting foul, Jordan, I'm warning you. All right, Flint nearly killed Gryffindor Seeker, which could happen to anyone, I'm sure. A penalty to Gryffindor taken by Spinnet, who pushed it away. No trouble, and we continue to play. Gryffindor still in possession. It was as Harry dodged another bludger, with which went spinning dangerously past his head, that it happened. His broom gave a sudden frightening lurch. For a split second, he thought he was going to fall. He gripped the broom tightly with both his hand and knees. He never felt anything like that. It happened again. It was as though the broom was trying to buck him off. But Nimbus 2000 did not suddenly decide to buck the riders off. Harry tried to turn back toward the Gryffindor goalpost. He had half a mind to ask Wood to call time out. And then he realized that his broom was completely out of his control. He couldn't turn it. He couldn't direct it at all. It was zigzagging through the air, and every now and then making violent swishing movements that almost unshitted him. Lee was still commenting. Slithering position, Flint with the quaffle, past Spinnet's, past Bell, hit hard in the face by a bludger. Hope it broke his nose. Only joking, Professor. Slytherin scores. Oh no! The Slytherin was cheering. No one seemed to have noticed that Harry's broom was behaving strangely. It was carrying him slowly higher, and from the game, jerking and twitching as it went. Dunno what Harry think he would do, Hagrid mumbled. He stared through his binoculars. If I didn't know better, I'd say he's lost control of his broom, but he can't have. Suddenly, the people were pointing at Harry all over the stands. His broom had started to roll over and over with him only just managing to hold on. Then the whole crowd gasped. Harry's broom had given a wild jerk, and Harry swung off it. He was now dangling from it, holding on with only one hand. Did something happen to it when Flint blocked him? Seamus whispered. Can't have, Hagrid said. His voice sank, shaking. Can't nothing interfere with a broomstick except powerful germ magic. No kid could do that to a Nimbus 2000. At these words, Hermione seized Hagrid's binoculars, but instead of looking at Harry, she started looking frantically at the crowd. What are you doing? Mourned Ron, great-faced. I knew it, Hermione gasped. Snape, look! Ron grabbed the binoculars. Snape was in the middle of the stands opposite them. He had his eyes fixed on Harry and was muttering non-stop under his breath. He's doing something. Zinging the room, said Hermione. What should we do? Leave it to me. Before Ron could say any other word, Hermione had disappeared. Ron turned the binoculars back on Harry. His broom was vibrating so hard it was almost impossible for him to hang on much longer. The whole crowd was on its feet, watching, terrified, at the Weasleys flew up to try and pull Harry safely onto one of their brooms, but it was no good. Every time they got near him, the broom would jump higher still. They dropped lower and circled beneath them, obviously hoping to catch him if he fell. Marcus Fillint seized the quaffle and scored 5 times without anyone noticing. "Come on, Hermione," Ron muttered imperiously. Hermione had fought her way across the stand where Snape stood, and was now racing along the row behind him. She didn't even stop to say sorry as she knocked Professor Quirrell head first into the row in front. Reaching Snape, she crouched down, pulled out her wand, and whispered a few well-chosen words. Bright blue flames shot from her wand onto him to Snape's robes. It took perhaps 30 seconds for Snape to realize that he was on fire. A sudden yelp told her she had done her job. Scooping the fire off him into a little jar in his pocket, she scrambled back along the row. Snape would never know what had happened. It was enough. Up in the air, Harry was suddenly able to clamber back onto his room. "Neville, you can look," Ron said. Neville had been sobbing into Hagrid's jacket for the last 5 minutes. Harry was speeding toward the ground when the crowd saw him clap his hand to his mouth, and though he was about to be sick, he hit the field on all fours, coughed, and something gold fell into his hand. "I've got the snitch," he shouted, waving it above his head, and the game ended in complete confusion. He didn't catch it. He nearly swallowed it. Flint was still howling 20 minutes later, but it made no difference. Harry hadn't broken any rules, and Lee Jordan was still happy shouting the result. Gryffindor had won by 170 points to 60. Harry heard none of this, though he was being made a cup of strong tea back in Hagrid's hut with Ron and Hermione. "It was Snape," Ron was explaining. "Hermione and I saw him. He was cussing your broom, muttering he wouldn't take his eyes off you." "Rubbish," said Hagrid, who hadn't heard a word of what had gone on next to him in the stands. "Why would Snape do something like that?" Harry, Ron, and Hermione looked at one another, wondering what to tell him. Harry decided on the truth. "I found out something about him," he told Hagrid. "He tried to get past the 3-headed dogs on Halloween. It bit him. We think he tried to steal whatever's it guarding." Hagrid dropped the teapot. "How do you know about the Fluffy?" he said. "Fluffy? Yeah, he's mine. Bought him for a great chappie I met in the pub last year. I lent him to Dumbledore to guard there." "Yes?" said Harry eagerly. "Now, don't ask me any more," said Hagrid gruffly. "That's the top secret, that is. But Snape's trying to steal it." "Rubbish," said Hagrid again. "Snape's a Hogwarts teacher. He'd do nothing of the sort." "So why did he just try to kill Harry?" cried Hermione. The afternoon's events certainly seemed to have changed her mind about Snape. "I know his things when I see one, said Hagrid. "I've read all about them. You've got to keep eye contact, and Snape was not blinking at all. I saw him. I'm telling." "Yeah, you're wrong," said Hagrid hotly. "I don't know why Harry's broom acted like that, but Snape wouldn't try to kill his students. Now listen to me, all 3 of ya. No meddling in something that don't concern ya. It's dangerous. You forget a dog, and you forget what it's guarding. That's between Professor Dumbledore and Nicholas Flamel." "Aha," said Harry. "So there's someone called Nicholas Flamel involved, is there?" Hagrid looked furiously with himself.